Oh man, I never thought a tiny, perfect suburban street could turn into a war zone, but that's exactly what happened to me. And my dog. We're talking full-blown conspiracy. Fines, foreclosure threats, and the kind of HOA president that could curdle milk just by looking at it. The stakes? My entire life and the life of my best friend, Cody. Look, my name is Ethan Vance. After 20 years of service, mostly overseas, the kind of work that leaves you preferring quiet over anything else, I bought a little ranch house in a neighborhood called Crestline Commons. It wasn't paradise, but it was mine. It was quiet. It was safe. And I had Cody. Cody isn't just a dog. He's a handsome, block-headed Labrador mix. And he is my service animal, trained to deal with the noise, the relentless, grinding noise that sometimes gets trapped in my head. He's my anchor, my shadow, and my early warning system. His most dangerous mission now, honestly, is making sure the local field mice stay off the front lawn. But for me, he's still saving my life every single day. I thought I'd finally found the easy peace, the one I'd earned. But in Crestline Commons, peace isn't free. Comes with a monthly fee, a covenant binder the size of a phone book, and a dictator named Veronica Sterling. Veronica was the HOA president, the undisputed queen of conformity. She ruled with an iron fist wrapped in a pastel cardigan, enforcing rules about everything from the exact shade of gray on your gutter downspouts to the acceptable hours for sprinkler usage. To Veronica, my easygoing, slightly scruffy lab mix Cody was a ticking time bomb threatening the immaculate beige tranquility of her domain. She saw a dog. I saw my lifeline. The problem was she also had the gavel. The whole nightmare started, believe it or not, with a loud muffler. It was Tuesday morning. Perfect crisp air, sun just hitting the dew, and Cody and I were on our routine loop. He was sniffing a patch of grass near Mrs. Gable's award-winning azaleas, all blissfully unaware of HOA politics. Then about 50 yards down the street, a beat-up landscaping truck backfired. A sharp, violent crack. That sounded exactly like something else I've heard too many times. My chest seized up, my vision narrowed, and the noise in my head went from a hum to a siren in half a second. Cody felt the tension shoot right down the leash. He stopped sniffing, spun around, and let out one sharp, guttural bark. It wasn't aggression, it was pure alarm, a professional warning. Then instantly, he pressed his solid shoulder hard into my knee, initiating that deep pressure cue. Our reset signal. My world started expanding again. My breath returned, but that single loud bark had done its damage. Veronica's front door, which always looked like it was guarded by invisible sentries, flew open. She marched out onto her lawn, seriously she marched, in a bright salmon-colored tracksuit, visor perfectly level, looking like a suburban general who had just discovered treason. Ethan Vance. She shrieked, her voice thin and sharp enough to cut glass. I knew it. You cannot control that brute. I took the deepest breath I could, trying to ground myself. He's a service dog, Veronica. He was startled. It was just a truck backfiring. He is a menace to the entire neighborhood, she declared, her eyes sweeping the street, making sure every window peeker got the message. He is constantly disturbing the peace. I have received dozens of complaints. Total calculated lie. Cody barked maybe once a week and usually at the mailman. But the truth didn't matter here. The narrative did. He barked once, Veronica, I said, keeping my voice low and level. The way you speak to someone who is unstable but holds a weapon. We are leaving now. I turned, gently pulling Cody away, trying to de-escalate. But she wasn't finished, not with her audience starting to gather behind net curtains. This is your final warning, Mr. Vance. The standards of Crestline Commons will be upheld. That's when the first patrol car rolled by. Officer Hayes, who I knew, and his partner. Veronica's eyes lit up like Christmas. She started waving frantically, a damsel in false distress. Officers. Thank goodness. This man's vicious dog just tried to lunge at me. I fear for my safety. The officers looked tired, like they usually did when dealing with HOA disputes. They knew Veronica. Hayes just sighed. Ma'am, the dog is sitting calmly right now. Only because you're here. She spat. He needs to be registered as a dangerous animal. He needs to be muzzled. This man is an unfit owner. I just stood there holding the leash, feeling the familiar cold knot of anger tighten in my gut. But before I could even respond, before the officers could finish their tedious paperwork, Veronica did something completely unhinged. While Hayes was looking down at his notepad, Veronica took one quick viper-like step forward. She had a small aerosol can in her hand. I swear I thought it was sunscreen or something at first. Before I could shout, she aimed it right at Cody's face and pressed the nozzle. A thick, white chemical cloud shot out, hitting Cody square in the eyes. He didn't growl, didn't snap. He let out a high-pitched, desperate yelp that ripped through me like shrapnel. He stumbled back, shaking his head, pawing frantically at his eyes, whining a sound of pure, searing pain and confusion. I dropped the leash and fell to my knees right there on the sidewalk. "Cody, hey buddy, it's okay, it's okay." The smell hit me, not pepper spray, but something bitter, sharp, intensely chemical, like cheap bug killer mixed with disinfectant. His eyes were instantly red, tearing, mucus running down his muzzle. I didn't need a medical degree to know what she'd done. I stood up slowly. The world went silent and razor-focused, just like it used to get when things went south overseas. The fear was replaced by a cold, deadly calm. I turned and looked at Veronica. She was still holding the can, her face smug, triumphant. "What did you just do?" My voice wasn't loud. It was dangerously quiet. Hayes and his partner snapped their heads up, seeing the look in my eyes. They'd seen it before. "I was defending myself," Veronica claimed, stepping back. "It's just citronella spray. Harmless, harmless." Cody was still shaking, trying to rub his burning eyes on the grass. Officer Hayes stepped between us and quickly pulled a saline bottle from his kit. "Flush his eyes now, Vance. Ma'am, you need to hand over that canister." "She just assaulted my service animal," I stated, my eyes locked on Veronica. "In front of 2 police officers. That is a federal crime." Hayes bagged the can as evidence, logged the time, and they wrote their notes. But here's the kicker. They treated it like a minor spat. They told Veronica to go inside. They told me to take my dog home and use a different route tomorrow. "Mr. Vance," Hayes said, looking defeated, "animal incidents fall under animal control jurisdiction. We'll document and forward, but our hands are tied." They treated it like a schoolyard scuffle, but I knew better. As I led Cody home, his body still trembling, I knew this wasn't over. This was war, and Veronica had just drawn first blood. The rest of the day was a blur of trying to soothe Cody, flushing his eyes with water, and whispering apologies into his soft, warm fur. The trust in his eyes was fractured, replaced by a flicker of anxiety, and that broke me more than any physical threat ever could. I filed my report with the police, attached the photos I'd taken, Cody's weeping eyes, the bagged canister, but I knew it would just sink into a digital swamp of neighborhood complaints. You build a case one brick at a time, I told myself. The next morning, the enemy's true strategy was revealed. The first blow landed at 9 a.m. in a pristine white van with the county seal, Animal Control. Officer Ruiz, a young guy with a clipboard and a permanently tired expression, was on my porch. "Jack Vance?" he asked, avoiding eye contact. "I am. I'm Officer Ruiz. We've received a report concerning your Labrador mix, Cody." "Let me guess," I said, the ice creeping into my voice. "Veronica Sterling." "The sworn report," Ruiz recited, staring at the clipboard, "states that your dog, identified as Cody, attacked and bit a minor child yesterday morning." The words hit me. A child. The lie was vicious, calculated. It explained why she had to file the report after the police left. "That's impossible," I said, a dangerous tremor in my voice. "There was no child present. My dog was with me on a leash the entire time. He didn't bite anyone. Sir, I'm just here to do my job. We have a sworn witness statement." Who lied for her?" I demanded. "The report claims the bite happened moments before the police arrived," Ruiz continued, reading the script. "The child was rushed home by their mother before the officers got there. A phantom victim. A neat, airtight story designed to be impossible to disprove on the spot. This is retaliation," I shouted, dropping my voice instantly when Cody, who was lying inside by the door, lifted his head nervously. "This is a fabrication because she sprayed my service dog and I documented it." "Procedure is procedure," Ruiz insisted, stiffening. "A bite report involving a child requires mandatory quarantine. 10 days at the county shelter." The shelter. Concrete, barking, and the smell of fear. A place that would undo years of therapy for a dog like Cody. It would shatter his sense of security. No, I said, the word final, absolute. He is a task-trained service animal under the ADA. He stays with me. Ruiz sighed, flipping the page. You're a trained handler and his vaccinations are current. You can quarantine him at home, under strict conditions. He listed them. Total confinement to the house and fenced yard. No public walks, no contact. Then he handed me the sign. A large, bright orange placard in big black letters. Dangerous animal. My home, my sanctuary, branded like a disease. But the worst part came next. Because of the nature of the accusation, Ruiz said, his voice softening. An unprovoked bite on a child. A formal hearing is automatically scheduled. The burden of proof will be on you to demonstrate that your dog is not a danger to the community. And if the complaint is upheld, he couldn't look me in the eye. The standard order is humane euthanasia. There it was. The end game. She wanted him dead. When is the hearing? It's an administrative review backlogged for a few weeks. He paused, looking genuinely apologetic. However, the complainant has filed for an emergency destruction order, citing the dog's alleged history of aggression. An animal control supervisor will review the case file. He pushed a form toward me. You have 24 hours to submit any evidence to the contrary. If you don't, and the supervisor signs off, we'll be back tomorrow morning to take the animal. 24 hours to prove a ghost child didn't exist. 24 hours to save Cody. I stuck that bright orange sign on my door, a screaming symbol of her power. Then came the second blow, an email from the HOA. It wasn't just about Cody anymore. It was a formal letter listing new violations, public nuisance, verbal threat to the HOA president, and demanding $250 in fines, effective immediately. The kicker: due to the severity, the HOA will seek an injunction, fines, and a lien that could lead to foreclosure for non-payment. She wasn't just trying to kill my dog. She was trying to force me out. A pincer movement. Animal control for Cody, the HOA for my home. Despair is a cold, heavy blanket, and for a moment I let it cover me. I felt the exhaustion of fighting a battle I hadn't asked for. A battle that felt unwinnable, against the bureaucratic machine she commanded. Cody nudged my hand, whining softly, initiating the reset cue again, pulling me back. He needed me. My responsibility. My family. I stood up, the despair burning off, replaced by the cold, tactical resolve of my old life. They had cornered the wrong man. I couldn't win a direct assault, but I could win an intelligence war. I needed to go behind enemy lines. There was only one man for the job. Mitch. Mitch and I had served together. He was our tech specialist, a genius who could pull satellite data out of a wristwatch. Now he was in cybersecurity, doing things I didn't understand for money I couldn't imagine. He answered on the second ring, his voice dripping with dry sarcasm. Vance, what, did you finally break your new laptop? I need your help, Mitch, I said, no preamble. 24 hours. They're trying to kill Cody. The sarcasm vanished. What is it, Jack? Give me the intel. I laid out the entire sequence, the spray, the fake bite report, the foreclosure threat. It's too coordinated, I finished. It's pre-planned. She's communicating with the board, the witness. There has to be a trail, an email trail, a text chain. I need you to find her weak point. You want me to crack the Crestline Commons HOA server? He said, and I could hear the excitement in his voice. Oh man, their website looks like it was designed in 1998. Give me 30 minutes. I'll call you back. Mitch, if you get caught, I'll blame it on a solar flare, he quipped and hung up. I had air support. All I could do now was wait. While I was pacing, my doorbell rang. Standing there was a short, wiry guy in a wide-brimmed hat, holding a walkie-talkie. Name's Skip, he said, grinning. Ham radio operator, KLBT. I live 2 blocks over. Heard the rumble last night. Lots of interesting chatter on the public band. He winked. You're going to that emergency meeting, right? The HOA? Because sometimes the neighborhood's Wi-Fi connection gets unstable. I couldn't help but smile. You show up to a fight with a radio, Skip? Sir, he said, adjusting his hat. I show up to everything with comms. If things go dark, you call me. I'll make light. He handed me a card with a lightning bolt drawn in Sharpie and ambled off. I had ground support. My phone buzzed. Mitch. I'm in, he said, his voice a low, excited drone. Their password was Crestline23. I'm offended by the lack of effort. What did you find? I asked, heart-hammering. Oh man, it's a digital cesspool. But I found the motherlode. Sent items from Veronica Sterling. He cleared his throat and read in a nasally, mocking voice. Sarah Jenkins, I need you to draft a complaint to Animal Control immediately. We will state that Vance's mutt bit a child. Make the child anonymous, a visiting cousin, to avoid any actual record. We need to use the emergency protocol. I want that animal gone by the end of the week. I took a sharp breath. Premeditated felony conspiracy. There's more, Mitch continued. She sent a follow-up to the entire board, detailing her plan to label you an unstable element and initiate the lien process to protect property values. The board members just replied, sounds good, V, or whatever you think is best. They're spineless. But the final piece, Jack? The sworn witness statement wasn't from a neighbor. It was from her assistant, Sarah Jenkins. Sarah, I whispered. The email chain shows Veronica bullying her into signing it, threatening her job, her health insurance. She told her, you work for me and your job is to handle my problems. This is a problem. I'm forwarding you everything. The whole damn thing. Mitch's intel was a nuclear weapon, but I couldn't use it. Admitting to illegally hacking her server would get the case thrown out and land Mitch in federal trouble. The emails were the safety net, the ultimate leverage. The primary target had to be the weak link, Sarah Jenkins. If I could flip the witness, the entire legal conspiracy would collapse under its own weight. I just needed the right opportunity. I put Cody's leash on, took him into the fenced front yard, and started a meticulous training drill. Sit, stay, heel. Place. It was for Cody's anxiety, but mostly it was for me to watch the street. The opportunity arrived at 4:30 p.m. Veronica's luxury SUV pulled out of the driveway. 2 minutes later, her assistant, Sarah Jenkins, pulled up in a beat-up sedan, using a side door key to let herself in. She was there to water the plants or feed the cat. I watched her through the fence. She looked exhausted, shoulders hunched, carrying the weight of a massive lie. She was a victim, just a different kind. Then she came out the side gate, talking animatedly on her phone, clearly distracted. No, I told her it wasn't true, she was saying, voice strained. I don't know what else to do. And out trotted a tiny, fluffy white dog, a Westie named Alfie. He saw freedom, shot out of the open side gate and bolted straight for the street. Sarah, still arguing on the phone, didn't notice. But I did. A black SUV was speeding down the road, the driver staring at his phone, completely oblivious. There was no time to shout, no time to think, only reaction. Cody, stay, I commanded. He froze instantly, his eyes locked on me. I vaulted my low fence in a single fluid motion. Years of muscle memory took over. 3 long strides and I was in the street. I scooped up the little white dog just as the SUV swerved, tires screeching a foot from where I stood. I stood there, heart hammering, holding the trembling Alfie. Sarah finally saw the near miss, dropped her phone, her face draining of color.
Alfie, oh my God, you saved him.
You saved him, she stammered, rushing over. I gently handed Alfie back. Just keep your gate closed, I said, my voice steady, adrenaline fading. I turned to walk back. Wait, she called out. She had tears in her eyes. Why would you do that after what I did? After what she made me do? That was the moral crossroads. I walked back toward her, stopping a few feet away. Because it wasn't the dog's fault, I said simply. And maybe it wasn't entirely yours either. Her face crumpled. The dam of guilt broke. She's a monster, she whispered, clutching Alfie tight. She threatened my job, my mom's sick, I need the insurance. I didn't know what to do. I signed the paper, I lied. I am so sorry. I have the emails, Sarah, I said, quiet and firm. The ones between you and Veronica. I know she coerced you. I know this whole thing is a lie. She didn't ask how. She just knew it was the truth. What are you going to do? She asked, voice trembling. This was the moment of choice. I could have been Veronica, threatened her, forced her. But that wasn't the mission. I'm giving you a choice, I said. You can continue to live in fear of a woman who risked your dog's life while she made you sign a death warrant for mine. Or you can tell the truth. You can help me stop her, not just for me, but for yourself. For anyone else she decides to bully, I had saved her dog. I had offered her redemption. I had given her back the power Veronica had stolen. She looked at the orange sign on my door, down at the shaking Westie in her arms, and after a long, agonizing moment, she nodded. "Okay," she whispered, wiping a tear. "What do we do?" The tide had turned. 17 hours left. The plan was simple, audacious, and centered on the HOA's emergency meeting scheduled for 7 p.m. in the community clubhouse. Veronica wanted a public execution to rubber stamp my eviction. I was going to give her a public trial instead. At 6:18 p.m., the lights on my router died. My cable line at the side of the house had been cleanly cut. "Of course," I muttered. Mitch and Skip were already pulling up in their vehicles. "Subtle," Mitch deadpanned. "Examining the slice. Brought the circus," Skip said, popping his trunk, revealing a glorious mess of cables, antennas and battery packs. He suction-cupped a small antenna to my window. "Will hop cell bands triple failover. It's ugly, but it works." My phone chimed back to life. Mitch tested the stream. "We are up." "World's watching, Jack." At 6:45, we headed for the clubhouse. I was wearing an old, clean polo shirt. Mitch, my tech wizard, wore a plain jacket and carried a backpack, his phone discreetly mounted on a small tripod, aimed at the front table. The clubhouse was a sterile, beige box, filled with uncomfortable folding chairs and about 40 residents. They wouldn't meet my eyes. I saw the Millers, Mrs. Gable. They gave me sad, helpless shrugs. I saw Wally Riggs, the old guy who called Cody a beast, sneering openly. At the front table, Veronica sat flanked by her 2 loyal, spineless board members. Veronica's eyes narrowed to slits when she saw me walk in. They narrowed further when she saw Mitch sit down in the back and quietly arrange his phone. The meeting started with Veronica rapping her little gavel, her hand visibly shaking. "The first and only item on our agenda," she announced, her voice pitched high, "is the clear and present danger posed by the animal residing at 124 Willow Lane. Mr. Vance's dog has been designated dangerous, and this board has voted unanimously to enforce fines, injunctions, and liens against him." She delivered the line with maximum dramatic effect. I stood up. My voice was calm, controlled, and projected perfectly. "Excuse me, Miss Sterling. Before we discuss sanctions, I'd like to discuss the incident you're referring to. The alleged dog bite." Veronica's face tightened. "There is nothing to discuss, Mr. Vance. We have a sworn statement from a witness." "Do you?" I asked, walking slowly toward the front. "Because I'd love to know the name of this minor child who was bitten. Surely a police report was filed, a visit to the emergency room, an incident that severe must have generated some kind of official record." The room went silent. People were shifting, looking at Veronica. Her story, so solid minutes ago, was dissolving. "The family wishes to remain anonymous," she snapped, her composure cracking. "They fear retaliation from you." "Retaliation?" I gave a small, humorless laugh. "I'm the one being evicted. I'm the one whose dog is scheduled to be killed in 12 hours. What I fear is a lie, Veronica. A lie you created. How dare you call me a liar?" she shrieked. "I am," I said, my voice like the ice on a winter lake. "And I have proof." I nodded toward the side of the room. Sarah Jenkins, the board assistant, slipped out from a storage room. She looked terrified but resolute. She walked to the front, trembling, and all eyes followed her. Veronica's face went utterly white. "Sarah," Veronica stammered, her voice thin. "What are you doing?" "I'm telling the truth, Evelyn," Sarah said, her voice shaking but clear. And she used her first name, not her title. "There was no child. There was no bite. I was there, cleaning your office. Jack Vance's dog was on a leash and did nothing." Veronica Sterling sprayed the dog in the face unprovoked. Then she ordered me to file a false report with animal control. She threatened my job, my insurance, and she forced me to sign the statement she wrote. A collective gasp swept the room. The 2 board members looked at Veronica in horror. Wally Riggs' jaw was hanging open. Veronica leaped to her feet. "She's lying. She's a disgruntled employee. She's in on it with him." But the dam had broken. The fear she had cultivated for years was being washed away by the flood of truth. "I have a sworn, notarized affidavit right here," Sarah continued, holding up the paper. "And I've already sent a copy to Animal Control and the District Attorney's office." Then, Mitch stood up in the back of the room holding his phone. He didn't shout. He just announced cheerfully, "And just so everyone is aware, this entire meeting is being live-streamed. We currently have over 600 viewers, including reporters from local news outlets. Maybe you'd like to repeat your accusations for them, Miss Sterling." The trap had sprung. Veronica looked at Mitch's phone, the small red recording light, and then at the faces of her neighbors, no longer fearful but filled with contempt and blinding rage. Her mask of righteous indignation shattered, replaced by pure, unfiltered panic. She grabbed her binder and tried to flee the stage, but Mrs. Gable, the sweet old woman she terrorized over azaleas, stood up and blocked her path. The sergeant by the door stepped forward. The meeting had turned into a mutiny. Veronica Sterling was done. The fallout was instant and total. That live stream went viral. A decorated veteran and his service dog targeted by a petty tyrant. The next morning, Animal Control called. "Mr. Vance," the supervisor said, "we have received Ms. Jenkins' recanting affidavit, the video of the meeting, and the lab report on the spray. All proceedings against your animal are dropped. The emergency destruction order has been voided. The quarantine is lifted, effective immediately. We sincerely apologize." Relief hit me like a physical wave. I dropped the phone, knelt down, and buried my face in Cody's fur. "We won, buddy," I choked out. "We won." He just licked my face, his tail a steady, happy drumbeat against the floor. The HOA imploded. Veronica was recalled, along with her 2 cronies. A local law firm, eager for the PR, took my civil case pro bono. With Sarah's testimony and the subpoenaed emails, now perfectly legal evidence, the case was a formality. A few weeks later, we stood before a judge. When the time came, she took off her glasses and looked directly at Veronica. "Miss Sterling," the judge stated, her voice ice and granite, "in my tenure, I have rarely seen such a calculated textbook case of malicious prosecution and neighborhood terrorism. You abused the ADA. You used your position not to build a community, but to enforce your will through fear and intimidation." She turned to me. "This court finds in your favor on all counts. Damages are awarded. Furthermore, I am referring this case to the district attorney's office with a strong recommendation for felony criminal charges. You, Miss Sterling, have buried yourself in your own lies." The gavel came down. It was over. Veronica sold her perfect beige house at a massive loss and moved out of state to deal with the legal mess and the public disgrace. The old HOA was dissolved, and a new one was formed, elected by residents who were now fiercely protective of their rights. Sarah Jenkins, the coerced witness, became something of a local hero, finding a new job immediately. She and I became unlikely friends, bonded by the war we survived together. We often see each other walking, Cody and Alfie now. My life slid back into its rhythm, but it's a different quiet now, the earned kind. The fear is gone. Neighbors wave. Wally Riggs even came by with a plate of burnt cookies, mumbling that Cody was a heck of a dog. I took the cookies. I was done carrying grudges. I'll carry Cody's leash instead. The community wasn't done, though. They wanted to honor the dog who pulled us together. The town council meeting. I sat with Cody at my feet, listening as Mrs. Gable, the Millers, and others talked about his loyalty, his courage, and how he saved our street from fear. A week later, at the small park at the end of the block, the mayor presented Cody with the city's Civilian Service Medal. Then the mayor pulled a cord. A new wooden sign swung into view over the entrance. The fresh carving read, "Cody's Park." I looked down at my partner, his medal a little crooked, his eyes bright. He was still just a good boy, but now he had a place named after him. That evening, when the cameras and the crowds were gone, Cody and I walked to his park. The light was soft. He trotted the same loop, tail high, happy. I sat on a bench and watched him sniff the perimeter. The question from that dark day came back to me. How far will a man go to defend his own? Far enough, I thought. As far as it takes, until the fight is won, and home feels like home again. He came over, pressed against my leg, and rested his head on my lap. The metal of the medal felt cool through the fabric. I scratched his ear, just listening to the wind in the leaves of Cody's park. But here's the thing that still sticks with me. And I want to hear your take. We won, yes, but what about the rest of the neighborhood? They were all terrified, right? They chose silence, they chose self-preservation, and they were ready to watch my dog die to save their lawns. Do you forgive them for that fear? Or do you think that kind of quiet complicity is almost as bad as the original lie? Let me know in the comments below. Hit that like button if you think the judge's sentence was deserved, and subscribe for more stories about fighting the good fight. Thanks for listening.